Welcome, everybody. I'd like to say hello. My name is Dr. Lisa McGuire, and I am the department head of the Department of Social Work at James Madison University. And with me today, I have Sarah Greenbaum. Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so hi, like Dr. McGuire said, my name is Sarah. I'm a current senior social work major here at JMU and a family studies minor as well.
So between the two of us, we are going to provide some information to you, and I hope you enjoy hearing what we have to say and learning more about the social work department. Um, you do have a Q&A function on this Zoom call, and we will be watching the questions in the background. We also have John Pulley from admissions, and he can answer things about the admissions and things at JMU that I don't necessarily know about, because by the time you come to me, you're already admitted. So Sarah and I will answer questions about the social work program. And you can put those in the chat anytime. And some of them we will probably answer as we move along. Some of them we may need to talk about a little bit later. But we're happy to have you here and welcome.
Okay, so I'm just going to be starting us off a little bit of what social work is. And so from the National Association of Social Work, the Code of Ethics, it states the purpose is the primary mission of social work profession is to enhance human well-being and help meet the basic human needs of all people, with particular attention to the needs and empowerment of people who are vulnerable, oppressed, and living in poverty.
And at the social work department, as is true of all social work programs across the nation, we are a professional. So our code of ethics is very important to us. And so we always like to start with a professional statement. And then it's also good to think about core values. And I'm sure throughout your high school experience, and if you have been at community college for a while, you've probably had a chance to think previously a little bit, at least, about what your values are. What do you believe in? And because what we do is a reflection of our beliefs and values, those core values are really important. There are 6 major values. Sometimes when I don't have the slide, I try to make sure that I can say them all without, and Sarah, I won't test you and ask you what they are, but I know you know them.
Yes.
So the things that we think are really important, of course, service, service to our community, service to our fellow man, service to our profession, all those kinds of things. The importance of human relationships. Social workers take that one really seriously. Competence. This is a thing there. Sometimes people say, oh yeah, I'm a social worker, without having the education and knowledge, values, and skills of what that really means. So when you enter a social work education process, the value of competence is really important. Also, integrity. Our word is very important to us, and we need to make sure that we have good integrity, that we don't tell people one thing or mislead them, and that our word is sacred. We also really value social justice. That's a huge issue in our society right now, when lots of people are facing oppression and violence, even as a result of their race or their gender or their sexual orientation or all kinds of other things. So the whole issue of social justice is very, very important to social workers. And last, but some people would say the most important value, is the dignity and worth of every individual, the dignity and worth of a person. So I hope as I've talked about these a little bit, that you're thinking about these things and that these values really resonate with you, because that means you are on the right path. You're really thinking about the social work profession from this idea of having your personal values line up really well with the core values of the profession.
Okay, so one of the really nice things about social work is that there are so many possibilities and so many different avenues you can go with it. And so some of the things, if you're interested with working with children and youth, with the elderly, with mental health, with substance use and alcohol use, people with disabilities, with juvenile or adult corrections, even within the government, which actually is one that I didn't even know was a possibility until I came here and started the coursework for the program, as well as in medical social services, anything handling abuse or neglect, whether it's child or adult or older adult, and then also anything in community advocacy. So lots of different options you have and lots of different fields of interest.
And some of the career opportunities that line up with those populations in areas of interest, you can see, I'm not going to name them all on the slide because there's actually too many to name. But at the undergraduate level in the profession of social work, we talk about social work being generalist, which means we're going to teach you knowledge and skills that would apply to all of those different areas. Now, obviously, they would play out a little bit differently in some of those areas. And in our curriculum, you do have the chance to choose some electives or choose a minor, which we're going to talk about in a minute, which would allow you to specialize a little bit. In the profession of social work, however, it's at the master's level where you actually specialize in a certain area. And so the BSW program, social work at the undergraduate level, is really going to prepare you to do any of these kinds of things and have skills and values that allow you to be successful in any of those kinds of positions.
These are all of our wonderful faculty and staff. You all know Dr. McGuire, who's very wonderfully leading us through this. Do you like me to go through and identify our staff, or?
You just might want to say a couple words about people that you've worked with.
Okay, yeah. So one of the nice things that I like about it is that you get to know each staff member. I think typically with faculty, like you'll have them at least in my experience, I've had at least all of them one.
Oh, it looks like we may have some technical problems with Sarah. So I'm going to jump in and see if maybe she wants to turn off and come back in or something, but I'll keep talking for a little while. Sarah's right that usually you will have every faculty member. There you go.
Yeah, I was like, wait. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you went out for just a minute.
Just a minute? Okay.
Yeah.
So Professor Bryson, I actually have not had my time here, but I've heard wonderful things. We have Professor Hunter within our department as well, who has a lot of experience working with a lot of different populations. Professor Troll, who I've learned a lot about social policy. You learn a lot about community development from her. Professor Poe, she also leads Phi Alpha, which is we'll get to that a little bit later, but she leads that. And she has a lot of experience working with, I believe, foster care. Professor Myers really also has a lot of experience in a lot of different fields. We have Miss Kelly Sweet, who's the administrative assistant. She's wonderful. She does a lot of really important things for the department. We have Professor Fernsler. In my experience, he's actually an advisor for, I think, one of the minors, for the department. And then we have Professor Yam, who also has a lot of experience in community development, some in substance use as well. So lots of cool different expertise that comes to play.
Right. And the department has about 200 students, give or take. We're actually a little high right now, so we're getting close to maybe around 225 students. At the end of the year, it was 194. So again, up and down. But with 8 faculty members, we do get to know you pretty well. And by the time you graduate, we will know your name. You may have some professors more than once, but all of our advising is done when you're a freshman. You have a freshman advisor, but in the February of your freshman year, you come to the department. So if you declare social work as a freshman, you will have the same advisor in the social work department for 3 years. And that's a really nice thing that you get to know us, we get to know you, and that's very helpful. We do have a mission statement, and I just wanted to highlight a couple things that obviously our first goal is to prepare you for professional practice to go into the community. We also prepare students to go to graduate school because some students will go directly into professional practice. About a third of our students go directly into practice. Well, it's actually 2/3 because 1/3 go on to graduate school immediately after completing their BSW, and they go right in to an MSW program, or some of them go on to law school or public administration or school counseling. We've had a few differences. Most do an MSW program, and I'll tell you why that is in just a minute. But a lot of students do go directly into practice for at least a couple years, and some will practice their entire career at the undergraduate level, depending on where they are. So those are things that are very important to us. We also want to be recognized for developing professional knowledge. So our faculty are involved in research and community activities. And we do need to be responsive to the local community. And so those are the 4 basic goals of what we're doing here at the Department of Social Work.
So just a little bit of what to expect. So there are a lot of opportunities for hands-on learning. Even amidst being online this semester, there have still been ways in which professors have found it to be hands-on. You'll begin taking your introductory courses, which are social work 287 and 288. You'll take those as a sophomore. So your first year, you'll take a little bit more of the gen eds and the prereqs for the major. You'll also do community service learning, which is really cool. You'll go out to work about 20 hours with an agency within Harrisonburg and get a little bit of a taste of some service in the area. Then you'll apply to the major, I believe after you take the 2 introductory courses. One of the other really cool things is Advocacy Day. I had the opportunity to go to DC and do a little bit of lobbying for some different bills that were put into motion. And so that's a really cool experience. I believe in the fall you go to DC, in the spring it's in Richmond.
Yep.
Yep. You'll also do your 50 pre-field hours. So that is what you do before you go into your first semester as a senior. So you do them before you start your second to last semester. I actually just completed mine this past summer. And that's a really cool experience because that's a little bit more immersive than the 20. You get a little bit more hands-on with, seeing what social work looks like in a different agency setting. There's also Rally in the Valley, which we just had a few weeks ago. And I know we had a few students in our department who were in charge of making sure that gets together. So essentially a bunch of schools in Virginia that have BSW programs come together, and every year there's a topic. This year it was on voting, and so that was really relevant given that's an election year. There's also a grad fair and an opportunity to talk with people, direct practice and agency. And then what I'm actually getting ready to do myself, as well as the rest of my cohort, is a field placement. So your last semester here, you will work, I want to say 474? 72? Okay. Oh, I knew it was like
very close.
Very close, 472 hours in an agency setting. And I actually believe we'll be hearing about those placements soon, but that you'll have a supervisor, you'll have a field professor that you work with closely who helps guide you through that process. So really a lot of different opportunities to do a lot of things in the community.
So in the department, we have obviously the social work major, but we also have 2 minors. And Sarah mentioned one of them is in family studies. And actually, we also have now taken our gerontology minor and added it into the family studies minor. So there's family studies, family ecology, and family studies gerontology, because we wanted to make sure that we still had the gerontology minor. Because unfortunately, not as many students have a strong interest in working with older adults, at least when they begin the program. I think as they move through, they learn more about that, and some students become very interested. So we wanted to make sure we kept those experiences there for them. But those are both great opportunities. You do not have to be a social work major to be a family studies minor or a gerontology minor. They come from programs across the university. Sometimes if you're interested in social work, you also may be interested in psychology and sociology. And a lot of those majors participate in our family studies minor. We do have a capstone and a experience where you work for the gerontology minor. You work with families in the community who are providing caregiving for an elderly loved one, maybe living in their house, or a person with some pretty severe disabilities. So that's a really interesting experience that we have. And then we also have the nonprofit studies minor. A lot of people don't realize that social work has a lot of experience in things like community development, nonprofit agency management. And so we have a great minor that allows people to focus in on that a little bit in their degree. That minor, we do have social work majors who are involved in it, but that minor draws students from all across campus. So we have students in the College of Art and Media Design. We have, because a lot of the arts are delivered through nonprofit organizations. We have people in the School of Business who are interested in nonprofit leadership. So it really does go across the whole university. And we also have opportunities for students who are interested in the honors college. And you can do your honors project with social work, and that's a great option as well.
Okay, so these are the social work organizations that we have. Earlier, I had mentioned Phi Alpha, that's the Social Work Honor Society. You are able to apply after you have taken at least 3 courses or 9 credit hours of social work. And then you have to have a social work GPA that is above a 3.5 and a cumulative GPA that's higher than a 3.25. And so that um, it provides an opportunity. You pay a lifetime membership fee, and it provides an opportunity for scholarships, and so other really nice things. Moving on, we also have SWO, our social work organization. And so speaking to that, it's really a nice environment where you can come together with some other social work majors, but you don't have to be a social work major to be involved. Mm-hmm. That's the nice thing about that one. And just talk about topics that are set forth prior to the meeting regarding social work.
Yeah, sometimes both of those organizations do service projects in the community. Yeah. They collect cookies that they give out to all the foster children. And they've done all kinds of other different things throughout the years. So that's really good. The other opportunity, JMU has an excellent program for our Center for Global Education. You can literally go just about anywhere in the world from JMU. And some programs are very focused from majors, and we have a couple of those, but some programs are broad and you can be involved in any major. And those include semester-long experiences, but they also include short-term study abroad, which is usually in May. We call it Maymester because it's usually 4 to 6 weeks in the period of time, or sometimes all summer. And there are just some really incredible opportunities. 2 years ago, I got to take a group of students to Rwanda, And this was an interprofessional class, which meant it was social work students and communication sciences and disordered students. And we were looking at maternal and child health because the professor that I went with was interested in researching how infants gain language and how that looks different in an African language versus how students in the US learn English. And one of the issues that's important for us as social workers is the problem of infant mortality. And Rwanda has really been sort of a miracle story in Africa about how they were able to make such huge strides in their infant mortality problem using a very community-based model. So our students got to see some fascinating work that happened in the rural areas of Rwanda, thinking about maternal and child health and how we keep everybody healthy. In the past, we've also had field placements for that last semester that Sarah is getting ready to start on the Caribbean island of Dominica. Unfortunately, a couple years ago, they had some really bad hurricanes, and they followed up the next hurricane season with more, not as quite as serious, but they were still mopping up the damage from the year before. So we haven't been able to do that. But and another program that JMU has is alternative breaks. And this is where a group of students plans to do service and travel. There are trips that are traveling all across the United States, but also in foreign countries as well. And we've done that with Dominica and El Salvador over the last 5 or 7 years. And then we do have the summer abroad trip. I mentioned Rwanda, but Sarah got to go to Ghana. So can you tell us a little bit about your experience in Ghana?
Yeah, absolutely. So I studied abroad in Ghana for the summer of 2019. So about a year and a half ago, I was there for 4 weeks. They did have an option where you would stay for about 6.5, but I chose the 4 week option. And so, what was nice is, as Dr. O'Gara said, the Rwanda trip, it was interprofessional. So there was actually a mix of majors. There were social work, psychology, political science, anthropology. I think we had a few health sciences and a few nursing as well. So that was really cool. And one of the things that we did was we volunteered at a special needs school, New Horizons. We also worked at Glona Academy, and so we helped students who were low income. We kind of helped them with some reading and math skills that they were being taught over there. We also got to do a whole bunch of other things. We learned about the role that religion plays in Ghana. We learned about family structure. We got to do a visit to a psychiatric hospital as well as a foster home. So lots of different opportunities and things to see in there. And we also, of course, on a little bit more of like a last academic note, we did get to do a lot of different hiking and scenic outages. So that was really nice as well.
There's such great opportunities, and JMU has really cultivated relationships with organizations abroad to provide such wonderful experiences that you just don't get to see as a traditional tourist. But we still do some of those kinds of things as well, so that you have a full idea of what it's about. So at this point, it's kind of weird to talk about graduating and what you do next when you're not even here yet. But just so that you know, a lot of our students, as I mentioned, do go on to graduate school. And it's really important, regardless of what program you choose for social work education, that you make sure it's an accredited program by the Council on Social Work Education. Because if you graduate from an accredited program, this allows you to get advanced standing in a graduate school, which means that instead of doing 2 years of undergraduate study, you essentially get to do your MSW in one calendar year. And that really makes a big difference. Almost all of our students who do go on to graduate school do the advanced standing option because you are very well prepared when you graduate from James Madison University to be able to go on into an advanced program at the master's level. Sarah is applying to MSW programs, advanced standing right now. And as I told her, she's going to get into all of them. So she's going to have great choices. There are 5 Virginia schools or 4 Virginia schools right now. We would be the 5th. We are in the process of developing an MSW program. It takes a long time in academia to get something off the ground. So we're working on it. But it'll probably be a year or 2 before we're ready. But Virginia Commonwealth University has a wonderful master's program. Lots of our students go there. Radford University, just on down the road a little bit, has a great program. George Mason up near DC and Norfolk State University also have MSW programs. But our students actually apply to MSW programs across the nation, and the accreditation allows us to do that. So we have students that go to South Carolina and Maryland, and I had one in the state of Washington, Walla Walla University. So I write references for students all over the place, and I am delighted to do that. And as far as I know, students get in, and there is not a problem with, I do not believe I know of a student who did not get into at least one of their master's choices, usually all of them. Because again, I do believe that JMU prepares you very, very well for graduate school, as well as for that professional practice. And so Sarah, you've had a chance to talk a little bit about some of your experiences. Is there anything else you want to say about the JMU BSW program?
You know, I actually did not come in as a social work major. I came in as psychology. And one of the things that drew me to social work was how hands-on it was. I took the introductory course because, I had always heard like, oh, if you don't like psych, maybe try social work. I wasn't really sure what all of it meant. And then I took the course, and I think definitely having that hands-on, the 20 hours, and then, seeing like how much of it is like interaction. And one of the things I really like about how it's taught here is it's very inclusive with student participation. So there's a lot of classroom discussion rather than just lecturing. There's a lot of opportunities as well for you as a student to put in your suggestions and inputs also to faculty. So, it really, I think what's done it for me is the hands-on experience that this department continually provides.
That's great. And that is not unusual when I talk with students that are thinking about major changes and, what they're interested in and what their career goals are. This is a major that's going to move you very quickly into practice because it is a professional major. So it's more like nursing or teaching as opposed to a discipline, an academic discipline like psychology or anthropology at the undergraduate level. Those are disciplines and they're important, and social work draws from that knowledge, but we do not necessarily just lecture, as Sarah said. And the hands-on learning that we described, those are just some of them. So in a practice class, for example, you may learn about practice interviewing skills, and then you may go to the homeless shelter and check people in for the night and use your interviewing skills to do that. So our faculty are really involved in the community, and they want to get you involved in the community. And Madeline, I have a question. I'm so excited to see a question in the question box. Thank you. She asks, what is the usual number of students in the social work classes? That's a great question. In your sophomore level classes, we try to keep the number of students to 35 or 40. And that's a little bit big compared to all the other social work classes, But we do that because we want to have your upper level classes be a little bit smaller. So the first classes are 35 or 40. Then when you get into the junior classes, our 300 level classes, I try to keep those at 25, although I'm more likely to keep the practice classes where you actually have to learn skills and do videotapes and things, those to 25. Sometimes our practice classes are getting up to 30 or 35. But by the time you are in your senior classes, we do really try to keep to 20 to 25 students in a class. And when you're doing your field practicum and you have a faculty member that meets with you, those classes are usually 12. So we go from the biggest, trying to get it down when you really need that individualized support. How difficult is it to double major in social work and sociology? It is possible. And if you do take the social work major, there are certain classes in sociology that you are required to take. I I am not a big fan of double majoring, at least if you can't fit it all in 4 years. I don't think it makes sense to extend your undergraduate degree longer than 8 semesters. And if you have to double major to do that, I wouldn't do it. But you can take courses and then figure out, you could start out as a double major and then maybe make some decisions. And you can minor in sociology. So that could be a way to get a lot of sociology classes along with your social work major. We do not have a minor in social work. We do have the family studies minor, which is somewhat similar, but it doesn't get you that professional credential that you want. But that is not a decision that you really have to make right away. It really is something that once you get here, you can figure it out and see what happens. Um, I do get questions about double majoring in psychology and social work. And I kind of say the same thing. If you start out as a freshman and you're bringing in some dual enrollment credits or AP credits, it's probably possible to do. I'm just not sure that once you're here for a while, you're going to want to do that. But it's always your decision. Internship opportunities. Yes, we have agreements with over 200 agencies in the Shenandoah Valley. We place students, like Sarah's getting ready to be placed right now in an agency. And we will have 50 students going into practicum in the spring semester. We have 12 students who are actually in internships right now. We try to place you within a 45-minute area in this area. That does not necessarily include Richmond or DC. And we have done placements in Richmond and DC if this is something that you're interested in. Those are sort of special arrangements. And like I mentioned, we used to do placements in Dominica. And at some point, we really hope to be able to redo that so that we have students who are studying abroad and actually doing their placement in an agency in Dominica. So, but yeah, all kinds of things. We work with, I think, 8 public child welfare DSS agencies that are working with child abuse and neglect. And most of them do adult protective services as well. We do private child welfare agencies. We do the state mental hospital. Western State Hospital is in our area. We do community service boards. We have placements at the hospital. We have placements at other community agencies. And JMU has it's sort of like an agency. It's called the Institute for Innovation in Health and Human Services. And they have grants which provide services to the whole area. And many of their programs have opportunities for students to do our placements. So all kinds of placement opportunities. And feel free if you have a specific question about a certain area. Thanks, Catherine, for that question. If you're looking for a certain kind of placement, I can probably, maybe answer what that's going to be. I think, yeah, my last slide is just some websites if you're interested. I hope, my guess is that you have probably already been to our website, the jmu.edu/social work. There's all kinds of interesting things. There's a Facebook feed there, and if you scroll down to see all of the different little stories, you can kind of get a feel for what our faculty are doing and what the program is doing. Then Sarah mentioned the NASW Code of Ethics. The NASW website is socialworkers.org. And then the Council on Social Work Education website is there as well. That one's probably the least interesting to you, but it does show that we are an accredited university, and it would allow, if you're looking at other universities and want to check to make sure that they're accredited, you can check that website. Interested in social work and criminal justice. Madeline, thank you. That's an excellent combination. And especially in the last few months when we've been looking at criminal justice reform and police reform, finally, we are hearing people say, we need social workers, or social workers are doing this. It is a huge need for us. And so there are definitely ways to follow up. JMU is in the process of approving a minor called Transforming Juvenile Justice. And in this sense, it's looking at the combination. Sarah, did you take that class?
Yes, I did.
I thought you did, yeah. I was one of the professors on that because my background is in child welfare. But we find that a lot of the children that are in the juvenile justice system, guess what, started out in the child welfare system. Sometimes it's the other way, but usually it's first in child welfare and then into the juvenile justice, and frankly, then into the criminal justice system. We've also been doing some work around trauma and criminal justice and juvenile justice, and are finding that many, many, many people that end up in our criminal justice system have what we call adverse childhood events, which means they've experienced not just one, but often multiple traumas in their lives, and how we work with them and treat them. So there are internships available. We have the Blue Ridge Court system, which is about a half hour south of here in Stanton, Virginia. And they have a drug court and some other wonderful things. Off and on, we've had some placements with the Harrisonburg juvenile justice. And I think there are a couple of others, although I can't think of them off the top of my head. But as we're working to approve this transforming juvenile justice system, we do have, we're going to have some placements with a national organization that allows the work between the two. So that is an excellent thing to be interested in right now, very timely. And yes, we do have some great opportunities. Sarah, did you want to respond to something with that?
Yeah, I'm thinking of something. The nice thing about social work, and the nice thing about is a lot of like the interests that you have, like with other majors such as like criminal justice or even sociology, like there will be avenues to kind of merge both of those in a way. And so it kind of goes back to this. One of the things is that the advisor you do get, you'll be able to kind of like throughout your process when you're applying to the major, when you're applying to your field practicum, you're kind of able to express like, this is what I'm really passionate about, and this is where I'm seeing. And even before you get assigned for your field placement, you'll meet, right now it's Professor Isom. When you interview, you get asked what are areas that you're really passionate about, or what are things that you really see yourself working in. And so you're able to express that at different points in your time, the program here.
I think we only have about 4 minutes left. So if other people have questions, please feel free to ask them. The only other thing that I wanted to say a little bit about that I'll say until I get another question is thinking about interprofessional education. One of the things that I think is really outstanding at JMU is our emphasis on interprofessional education. And this is becoming more and more important in work in the hospitals, in the medical area, in general health, in mental health, in schools, in child welfare, is that almost all of these big, really challenging problems that we're facing and that people face usually can't be addressed by just one person. And so we're really helping educate our students to take an interprofessional approach and to learn about other professionals and what to do and how to work together as a team, knowing what we do as our profession and then figuring out how we can work together. So Sarah right now is in an interprofessional, 1-credit interprofessional class. And unfortunately, Sarah, you don't get to do this, because it's only in the fall, but our students who are in the field will do an interprofessional experience with schools. So they're actually working with nursing students, with graduate psych students who are doing school counseling, and occupational therapy students, and looking at how all those professions would work together with children in the schools. And that's a really cool opportunity. We also do a collaborative, a health policy collaborative. So we look at policies and policy development from a collaborative perspective. So that's something that I think is really special at JMU and a really nice opportunity. Looks like we got about 2 more minutes. Any last minute question? Anything about JMU or admissions or? The information on the transforming juvenile justice minor is not up yet because it hasn't been fully approved. It's working its way through the academic system. But my guess is by the spring, it probably will be, within the next few months, it will be approved. If you want to email me, Madeline, my email is somewhere. There it is. Oh, did I take it off? Or is it still there? No, it's there. Feel free to email me and I can probably send you some information. In fact, I think I have a meeting on it like next week with the dean and some other people to figure out how to move forward. So I don't know how long it will take to get it onto the website, but it is becoming active really, really soon. So feel free to shoot me an email if you would like some more information and I'll see if I can't connect you. Anything else? Thank you guys so much for coming. It's been nice to have some questions and get to talk to you a little bit about JMU. So thanks, Sarah, for joining me and giving a student perspective. And please feel free to email me with any questions. And I hope if it's right for you, we will see you at JMU next fall. Take care.